What kind of basketball team do you have in your golf bag? Does that sound like a silly question? Well, in this video, I'm going to be talking about why it's not a silly question and why you should be asking yourself that, especially as you practice. But before we get into that, go ahead and like this video, share it, and go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you hit the link in the pinned comment below the video, when you get there, hit the three-line menu in the upper left-hand corner. There, for an extremely low price, way too low in my opinion, you're going to get a set of 10 videos that go over all the fundamentals of the game and help you have more fun playing this game. You can watch these videos on your own time, at your own pace, as many times as you want, and make the game of golf more fun. So now let's talk about what kind of basketball team you should have in your golf bag. Well, it's not a silly question because I think it's a good thing from time to time, no matter what sport you're playing, to compare it to another sport to kind of get a new perspective. And I really like comparing golf to basketball because you're really achieving a very similar goal. You're going from one point. In golf, it's the tee box. In basketball, it's the baseline. Navigating your way down the hole or the court, avoiding the defense when you need to, trees, hazards, and so forth on the golf course, or defenders on the basketball court, then setting up your offense, running that offense successfully in order to create a high percentage shot. So let's break that comparison down even further. From the basketball perspective, what do you need first? First, you need a point guard. You need someone to bring the ball up the floor, and you need them to be able to run the offense and get it into the hands of the people who are then going to be able to execute the offense properly and hit a high percentage shot. So what skills does that point guard need? Does he need to be incredibly fast? That would help, but is that the most important skill? Wouldn't you think the most important skill would be ball handling for one and passing for another? Because in order to avoid defenders, he needs to be able to handle the ball very well in case somebody presses him. And he also needs to know the offense so that he knows exactly where all of his teammates are supposed to be on the floor and when all of the rest of the offense is supposed to happen, the screens, the cuts, and all of those things. And then he needs to be accurate and timely with his passes in order for that offense to get started and work properly. So if you have a point guard who dribbles the ball off his foot out of bounds, or maybe isn't accurate with his passes and throws it away out of bounds, or throws it to the other team 3 out of every 4 times down the floor, what kind of point guard do you have? Does it really matter if that guy is super fast? No. So now let's look at the other members of the team. They also need to know the offense, need to know when they're supposed to set screens and where, and when they're supposed to make cuts and where, and how everything is supposed to flow and the timing of everything. And they also need to be able to handle the ball when the passes come to them and then make passes to their teammates in order to get that high percentage shot created. Then when that high percentage shot is created, they got to be able to knock it down. So if those players also aren't accurate with their passing, they don't know the offense, and they can't hit shots, what kind of basketball team do you have? Not a very successful one. So now let's take that basketball mentality into golf. Here's your point guard. Coming off the tee, down the court. Does he need to be super fast? It would be nice, yeah. But the most important skills, once again, he's got to be able to handle the ball. He's got to be able to make accurate passes. He's got to know the offense. If a point guard is dribbling the ball off his foot or throwing it away 3 out of every 4 times down the court, isn't that like a driver that might be super fast, might fly super far, but 3 out of every 4 holes is going off into the woods or into a hazard? He needs to have control more than he needs to have speed. He needs to know his offense. He needs to know where he needs to put that ball in order to create the next situation so that the next shot is as easy as it can be. Then the other players on the team, they also need to know the offense. They need to know how far each of them flies the ball. You need to know how far you hit your clubs. You need to know where the hole is, what other situations there are, where the defenders are, where the sand traps, the water hazards, the trees, where everything is. You need to know all those things. And then they also have to be accurate. You need to be accurate with every player on the team so that those passes then get to the point where you get a high percentage shot. So that's kind of like navigating your second and third shot down the hole. On a par 4, you're looking at hitting a green, aren't you? Or at least getting close to a green. Then you've created a high percentage shot. You got to be able to knock it down. You've got to be able to putt. So when you think about that, doesn't it make sense then that your driver doesn't need to be as fast as it needs to be accurate? Your irons need to understand the offense and how they fit into the team and where they need to fit in. Then the other players on your team, your hybrids, your woods, your irons, they all need to know their part in the offense. They need to know exactly what they're supposed to be able to do so that they can then navigate through the defense and create that high percentage shot. And then that high percentage shot has to go in. So when you're going to the practice facility to put your basketball team together, are you working too much on speed of your point guard and not as much on your shooting? Not as much on the passing of all the other players of your team or the understanding of the offense? Think about that next time you go practice.